Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, monamili wanji, namaste, jambo, bienvenidos. Hi, my name is Jadley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We are coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville, in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts, in the shadow of the Great Blue Hills. We are so delighted and so very honored and so happy that you are joining us in our mission to help families grow closer through reading. Please be sure to subscribe to the show in the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Stitcher Radio, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, wherever you find your podcast. Our guest today is Winter Miller. She is here to celebrate her debut picture book. It's called Not a Cat. Before we invite Winter to join us, we want to let you know that this episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast is brought to you by Sarah Beliza Tucker, the award-winning child development specialist and best-selling author. We want you to learn all about her The Day I Met My Best Friend book. It's the first book in her series. Is your child shy? Do they have difficulty making friends? Do they worry that no one will like them? Teach your child to have confidence in themselves and embrace who they are. Grab a copy of The Day I Met My Best Friend on Amazon or Barnes & Noble today. It's all part of Sarah's Empowering Reads for Kids series. Join us right now from the beautiful city of Miami. Our guest is here today to celebrate a beautiful picture book. It's called Not a Cat. Please welcome to the show, Winter Miller. Hey, Winter, how are you?
Hello. Thank you for having me here. I'm excited.
I'm excited to have you on, too. I'm excited to have you tell us all about Not a Cat.
What do you want to know? Where do I begin?
Where do you begin? Well, beginnings usually, although some plays and movies start somewhere in the middle or at the end and work their way backwards.
A nonlinear approach? Well, Not a Cat came about because I had a very incredible cat named Gato, and he was absolutely my best friend. We were together for 13 years, and because I travel a lot for my job, I'm a playwright. I also lead a lot of workshops. Gato was sick the last 3 years of his life, and I needed to give him medicine twice a day, so he had to be with me all the time. So more than he had even previously, he was out in the world with me. So Gato amassed a following. And generally people will say, hey, where's Gato? And then inquire about how I am. So Gato was this really fabulous cat who I took out on a leash. I sometimes put him in sweaters or costumes. With some friends, we hand out hot dogs at Halloween, and Gato would dress as a hot dog and be there as well. So people were always saying, well, he doesn't act like a cat. You know, he acts like a dog, or he acts like a person. And I thought, yeah, but also, who are we to say, you know, what a cat's nature is? All cats are different. Why do we need to pin Gato into any kind of a box or anything? So I just thought of him as just a being. And this book, Not a Cat, came about because I just wanted to celebrate this wonderful cat, and that who knows what he was, and does it matter?
Yeah. Interesting. What a beautiful story. I love that Gato was in your life for 13 years. It's beautiful. We've been pet lovers and mainly dog lovers, although I did have a couple of cats at one point, and they were pretty incredible. Very different, cats and dogs.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, again, all these people who are saying your cat is just like a dog, or I don't like cats, but I love your cat, or my favorite, I'm allergic to cats. Can I hold yours?
You know, as I'm thinking about it, you know, Augie the doggy is my security beagle here in the studio, and he is so unlike any dog that I've had in my life. First off, it's a small dog, which is very weird for us. And we've had border collies and giant St. Bernards. And you're right. Every being does have their own personality. One of the things that we've talked about here in the podcast a lot is how difficult it is, and for a lot of kids to figure out who they are. And a lot of kids have this feeling that I'm supposed to fit into this box or that box. And so there's a lot of anxiety in their lives, especially in middle school and high school, thinking, I don't feel like I'm supposed to feel over here. And maybe if we help kids just accept that they should feel the way they feel happy and be happy with that, that would alleviate a lot of that anxiety.
And that's why I wrote this book, for both kids and parents to be able to have the opportunity to say, what if you let a child self-define? And what if you allowed that identity to be somewhat fluid? So, for example, in Gato's case, perhaps today he does feel like a dog. Perhaps today he feels like a horse, that he's not bound, and that neither are we bound by what other people think we should be like. For me, growing up, people always called me a tomboy, and I really resented it because, yeah, I liked sports and I played them and I was good at them and I wanted to do that. And I resented the idea that this made me something other than who I am. That makes me a tomboy, and that there's some kind of power that comes along, because they don't call someone a tom girl and that means something. It's just, well, you like this, you're running around, you're a tomboy. And I just felt like, no, I'm Winter. This is who I am, and this is what I like and what I want. And I wanted that freedom for all children. I also have taught high school kids. I used to take them to see theater. And I had this one kid who, we would talk about pronouns at the beginning of class. And do you want to be called she, he, they, whatever? And this one kid would determine their pronoun per class. So they would say, today I feel like he. And then another time, today I feel like she. And to me, that was wonderful. The fluidity of being just able to say, this is what I feel like, and not being locked down into it. And I think if we had a society in which people were less locked down and had more freedom, then we could say, this is who I am. It may not be me forever, but this is who I am right now. And can I be loved for it? Can I be celebrated for it?
Well, one of the things that we've advocated here in the podcast is no matter what your religion might be, no matter what your political beliefs might be, that the only thing we should be teaching our kids is that every single person that they encounter deserves to be loved and respected. I've also just acknowledged on the program that I'm almost 100 years old. And a lot
Happy Centennial.
What's that?
Happy Centennial.
Thank you. A lot of ideas I have a hard time wrapping my head around sometimes. And, it doesn't mean that I'm right or wrong. It just means that I have some work to do. And I imagine there are other people who are listening who may have some work. And the idea that someone can feel male on one day and female on the other day, I'm more than anything, I'm curious as to what that means.
And isn't that exciting to be curious about it? Mm-hmm. To wonder, well, what does that mean for you? Rather than, oh no, you can't be that, or you can't do that. I mean, I hope that Not a Cat is for people a really joyful adventure into, there's a plane flying overhead, a really joyful adventure into just being oneself and having a good time with it. I mean, the illustrations are by Danica Novgorodov, who's a very good friend of mine and who knew Gato, which also made it really special. But these illustrations are hilarious. Gato swimming in the lake in Prospect Park with a bunch of ducks is funny. And so I hope that when people are looking at this book, they're thinking, this is really funny. I'm having a good time, and not even think about sort of the educational component of, oh, this might make me a more empathetic person, mm-hmm. a more open person, a more curious person.
I think that more than anything, I know as a parent, my beautiful wife and I really strove to help our kids become as empathetic as they could be. And that's one of the things I'm most proud of them both, is that they are very empathetic young adults. And they're very caring, and they've found partners who are also very caring and very empathetic. Why is that important? Why did that become important for you?
I think I pretty much base my whole life around the idea of kindness and empathy and getting into someone else's shoes. And it's so easy to judge someone. And I find myself doing it all the time, making assumptions about who I think someone is, rather than stepping back and being surprised by not what they appear to be, but who they actually are. And I just want people to be able to feel like they have space to be who they are and that they are welcomed. I want that for myself. I want that for the people I love. And I want it for the people I don't know. Mm-hmm. I want it for, little babies being born to not have to have a gender reveal party. I just want a little baby to be born and be able to develop into whatever kind of person they are and with whatever kind of interests, and not be boxed in by, this is how you behave, or this is what you believe, or this is what you must do. I'm really just interested in freedom for people. And along with that freedom, a celebration of difference, of sameness, of anything, just that people get celebrated and not stigmatized for who they are. And I think that creating stories that promote empathy, for me, that's the way to go. I mean, this is my first children's picture book. I'm normally a playwright, but that's what I'm interested in my work, is to take something and put it out into the world and have people ask a question: what would I do if I were in the shoes of this character?
Interesting. I want to touch base on the play that you're working on right now, but later on. But first, I'm wondering, do you have any thoughts about why, as human beings, we became these kind of judgmental beings, always wanting to put people into certain boxes?
Oh, gosh. I suppose it was about survival in the very beginning, trying to find your tribe, who's like you, in order to know, are you safe? Is this person an enemy? And then making a quick split-second assumption, this person is safe, this person is not, or, this is a bear and it's going to kill me. This is a horse and I can feed it a carrot. Just trying to make survival distinctions about how to be. And as you go along, encountering people who are, foes. When, the foes are usually people who want to live just as you want to live. Mm-hmm. And so this idea of scarcity, of a limited amount of space, usually it's the power dynamic, and someone says we are more powerful than someone else. And then in order to subjugate them and take away their humanity, they say you are different than we are, and we are chosen, we are better. And then you have all these divisions, and you have this construct of race, which is not about who people are, but about something that is put on top of people. So it makes for a very easy way to categorize. I mean, it's as simple as someone can ask you where you went to school, and what they want to do is to establish a rapport. Oh, you went there? Oh, did you know so-and-so? Oh, did you go to that coffee shop? Like, it's just a way of small talk. Mm-hmm. And, people are nervous meeting each other. They want to know, are you like me? Do we think the same? And, the sort of tragedy of that is that we don't all think the same. And if we could make room for allowing people to be who they are without hatred, mm-hmm. without disrespect, and without violence, what a much more joyful existence that would be, and a much less fearful existence. The amount of time that people spend being afraid of what they don't know and what could happen. If you took that fear away and instead put a curiosity about what if, mm-hmm. I think we'd have a much more open and happy populace.
Yeah. As you're speaking about that and about fear, A lot of the objections to folks who live different lifestyles are born out of religious beliefs. And I'm a practicing Catholic, but I know that there are some places here and there in the Bible that people point to, but I also know more than anything else in the Bible, and the thing that is mentioned most often is be not afraid. Don't be afraid of others. Don't be afraid of what you don't have, and to love everyone. So anybody out there who's listening to this who thinks, well, people are different and we need to, protect because this higher power says we should really dig deep into the text, because I think if you do, you're going to find that higher power told you most importantly that you should be loving others and respecting others.
Yeah, I rarely see people thumping Bibles who are really actually talking about love and actually acting from a place of love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Unfortunately, I agree with you. It's very sad. What was it like writing a children's picture book? Going from writing plays for adults to writing a picture book for kids, and that has a message for adults.
It was so much fun, and it happened in a very funny way because I've been thinking about this for a long time, just because I loved Gato so much. Wouldn't it be fun to write a kid's book about Gato? And I just kept saying that. Like, I probably said it for like 3 or 4 years or something. And I met someone. I used to work at the New York Times, and I met this wonderful woman named Tara Parker Pope. And Tara was like, you should write that book. Why don't you write that children's book? And we were having a couple cocktails, and I was, just a little bit toasted, and I thought, yes. And I stopped on the way home and got a bag of Cheetos, which should also tell you my state of mind. And I went home and I ate the Cheetos so that then my fingers could be clean. And I took out a little notebook. And what I did is I wrote, little square panels with, basically the text that you see in the book. It's almost exactly the same, with little drawings that went for it and that went with it. And I took a photograph each time I completed a page with 2 panels on it. I took a photograph and I texted it to Tara, and it was just so it was happening in real time that I was writing the book. And I don't know what the actual time was, but it was probably approximately 5 minutes per page. And so I texted them to her all in a row. And then, I got to the end and wrote the end, and she was like, this is fabulous. This is wonderful. This has to be a book. And so I then showed it to people who either are theater makers or who are parents, and just said, what do you think of this? Do you think? And the response was so positive, so overwhelmingly positive, that the response was basically, of course, this should be a book. This is wonderful. And so for me to have somebody, people I respect just love this thing right off the bat, I thought, oh, you get me. You see what I'm putting down here. Okay. And so the path of creating this and getting it out into the world is the least painful gestation and birthing of anything I've ever done, because it seemed to attract the right team of people. The crew at Tilbury, and getting to work with Danica, who is honestly one of my best friends and an incredible illustrator and writer of her own books. So it was pure joy, and it was it didn't take a lot of revisions. The publisher had a couple of suggestions, and I said, oh yeah, great idea. Definitely. And to be able to do something that smoothly seems, remarkable and lucky. So plays can take so long to build and require so many people to come together and to interpret them. And certainly, I had to wonder, how was Danica going to interpret the text? but I had also given her some mock-ups of things and ideas that I wanted. And what I found is I could present something and then she would come back with something that was generally a step better. Mm-hmm. And then I would say, well, what if we did this joke? And she would say, what if we did that joke? And so together we were upping the caliber of the humor and having a really good time with it. So, there's a page in which Gato is reading the New York Times, and we had a really good time coming up with like, what were the headlines going to be? And so, but that, if Danica hadn't put the paper in that way that allowed it to be illustrated in such a way, then we wouldn't have had room for the headlines. And mm-hmm. so there's just, we had room for a lot of puns, and all for a good pun. So it will, and I had only seen it on, as PDF sent to me, and I opened it up and I was blown away. It was so much more beautiful than I had even imagined to be possible. And I just thought, what a thrilling thing, what a childlike thing to get to be that surprised. And of course, it's a memoir by Gato. Like it is dedicated to Gato, and it really has the spirit of Gato. And, at Tilbury House, they were like, do you want to put a page, like an in memoriam page to Gato? And I thought, yes, what a wonderful idea. I didn't think of that. And so I think it's at the back of the book. There's this, there's just this, in memory of Electric Gatto Miller, 2008 to 221, who lived long enough to tell you his story. And the other great thing about this book is that it has, on the back cover, your listeners won't be able to see this, but we have illustrations of Gato holding up phone selfies. And those are the actual pictures of Gato. So there's a photograph of Gato on the bow of a canoe. And to me, that's wonderful. Like it incorporated the spirit of this real and wonderful cat into this illustration. And he's holding up the phone and the selfie of himself, and he seems delighted by who he is as well.
That's wonderful. I'm just imagining how much fun a family can have after they have a blast reading Not a Cat 300 or 400 times, to just be inspired to go and create their own stories about their own pets, and to kind of recreate those pages. Before we go,
I would love that. That would be so fun.
It would be. We're all about encouraging families to create their own stories and share those own stories about family members that have passed, family members that live far away, and also the hopes and dreams that we have. Before we go, you're talking about the difference between creating a picture book and creating a play. You're involved in the production of a new play right now. Can you tell us just a little bit about what you're working on now?
Yes. My new play is called When Monica Met Hillary. And I am down at Miami New Drama, a regional theater. We're doing the premiere production. And it is about that Monica and that Hillary. And I wanted to explore the conversations that none of us ever got to witness. And so it's all imagined events. There are 4 characters, Huma Abedin and Hillary Clinton, and Marsha Lewis and Monica Lewinsky. And it's also a play about mothers and daughters and what lengths people go to for their children, to protect them, to care for them, to nurture and love them. And it's also about how much work women have to do to clean up the messes when men do bad things, when they do awful things, the emotional baggage of trying to get back to living and just doing the day-to-day generally falls on the shoulders of women. And so I wanted to tell the story from the perspective of these 4 people. What are their lives like? What are the insides of the things that, any of us who are not them, would never know. And also, history is generally told from the perspective of, the men, or of, what was what did the reporter think, or what did the reporter see? It's edited in that way. And so we don't have a lot of information about what life was actually like for these people in these specific moments in time, because we weren't there. Mm-hmm. And so, I started writing the play before there was the miniseries about impeachment, the big Ryan Murphy miniseries, and I wrote the play before Huma Abedin's wonderful memoir, Both And, has just come out this past month. So it involved a ton of research into things that weren't, sort of commonly known, and putting pieces together. And then, of course, these very public book and miniseries came out, and I could just sort of look and see kind of what I guessed right, and what is, much more creatively different.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Fascinating. Well, I am certainly looking forward to having an opportunity to see that play. I hope it comes up to the Northeast at some point. Also really looking forward to hearing what folks think about Not a Cat. Can you tell us where folks can go to find out more about the book and also find out more about you?
I have a website. It's just wintermiller.com, and it usually posts my doing. It has links to my Instagram. I have recently been introduced to a new cat. Their name is Tiny Kitty, and they are very tiny. And so you can see the antics of Tiny Kitty on Instagram. And sometimes I will post on TikTok, but they'll show up on Instagram. But that's a place where you can see, what I'm up to and where I am. And the website usually will list same thing as well. And the book you can get absolutely anywhere. And how exciting! You can order it online and have it sent to your local bookshop. You can do whatever you like.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I hope you do order it.
Yes. We encourage folks to support their local booksellers. If Not a Cat is not on the shelf, you just ask very politely if they can order it, and it'll be there in a day or two.
Yeah, and there are online things like Bookshop and whatnot that you can find. You can get it through online and have it delivered to your store. I would love it, just because you were talking about the idea of families coming up with their own ideas, their own stories about their cats. If people end up writing, little stories or something about their pets, I hope that they tag me on Instagram and or take pictures of them reading this to their pets or their children. I would love to see people interacting with the book. And it's my first children's picture book, so I would love to know how does it land with kids? What do they love about it? Yeah. What excites them?
Yeah. Well, we can't wait to hear those reviews from kids and families and see those stories. We've had a great time speaking about the brand new debut book from our guest. The book is called Not a Cat, and our guest has been Winter Miller. Hey, Winter, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure to be here.
Please be sure to join us for the next episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We have two great guests for you. Denise Cesari will be here talking about moments in motion with love. And Aditi Wadham Singh will be returning to the podcast to celebrate Sparkling Me. Want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful. Of course, I want to start by thanking our guest, Winter Miller. Please be sure to check out Not a Cat. We also want to thank our sponsor, the award-winning best-selling author, Sarah Belizer Tucker. Be sure to check out The Day I Met My Best Friend. Also want to thank my team, Alejandro Doherty, Fatima Khan, Rory Grady, Skylar Strauss, Frank Guerrillos. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. Most of all, we all want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.